welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, it's that time of the year again. Every November, just before Diwali, we have this conversation. We call in the experts, we call in the stakeholders. Sometimes we even try talking to the politicians. But at the end of the day, what we really come up with is what we call short-term solutions. The long-term solutions are forgotten once the crisis is over. But we are hoping that conversations like this will actually spur the politicians into doing something. I haven't got politicians on the panel today because I really don't want a blame game. The idea is to find solutions to something that affects all of us. I'm talking about the air quality index in the NCR region, but it is also spreading to other parts of India. Just to put things in perspective, the air quality index this morning was recorded as 471 in Delhi. That is the overall air quality index. In Sonipat, it was 518. In Gurugram, it was 471. In Bhagpat, it was 446. It has even reached 882 in some areas, such as Anand Vihar. Just again to tell you how bad things are, an air quality index of 0 to 50 is considered good, 51 to 100 is satisfactory, 101 to 200 is moderate, 201 to 300 is poor, 301 to 400 is very poor, 401 to 500 is severe, and for 800 levels, I don't even know what words we're going to be using for that. But to help us understand the situation we are in and to also think of solutions, short term I'll ask for now, at least let's try and see what we can do to get by this month. Joining me on the panel are people who are working on the ground, stakeholders and domain experts. Joining me is Vimlendu Jha. He's an environmentalist, and also we've heard about his NGO, the work he does with Swachh India. Dr. Himanshu Shekhar, he's a medical director and a consultant physician at the SCI International Hospital. He's also a medical advisor to several embassies. Preeti Sanalkar, she is an active board member of I Am Gurgaon. That is an NGO that has rewilded at much as 750 acres across Gurugram. And Bhavreen Kandhari, she's an environmentalist and a member of Warrior Moms. That's a group of moms that are trying to reclaim the blue skies and the lungs for their own children. Joining me, so I'm going to open the discussion today, but Vimlendu Jha ji, first up, if you can explain to us the situation kitni severe hai and why do we face this every year? What are the reasons for it?
Situation is extremely critical. Right now we're talking about 5 to 7 straight days of severe air. And again, as you rightly said, severe, what do we call severe 400 plus or 999 plus? Because reality is that it's actually, and when I say 999 plus, which basically means that our air quality monitors can't go beyond 3 digits. And therefore, it could be 1500, it could be 1700, it could be, we don't really know how much. So when you have an air quality like that, it is an alarming issue. It is a gas chamber, and it's not just the haze and a discomfort in seeing something. It's actually the basic discomfort is actually in breathing. And as the doctor will tell you, that it's not just about basic immediate harm that it does to your breathing and to your eyes and to your lungs, and mostly of our children and the elderly, the long-term impact that it has. The unfortunate part is also that all this data in terms of the impact that environmental pollution or air pollution has, or severe exposure to severe air for severe number of days, has long-term in terms of longevity or morbidity or mortality or life expectancy. All of that has been recorded for years together. When in a sane society, when you have this data in front of you for years together, and still you have a silent government or governance, I would say, because government is singular, governance is plural, and it includes many other stakeholders, that means there's something amiss. Either the understanding of pollution is amiss, or the responsibility of governance and pollution is amiss, or perhaps their own political will to really stand by this and react to this is amiss. Also, the word react that I used is very consciously, because what you've seen in air quality governance in last several years is only reactive measures rather than proactive measures, because they only wake up, not even on the eve, by the way, every time, and some governments only wake up only after 7 days, not even on the eve of pollution. After post-pollution is when there's something called high-level meeting or low-level meeting or low-level governance that is at display. I know, Priya, that you haven't called a political party, but interestingly, if you would have called them, they wouldn't have turned up because they do not have a word. Now, they have been completely missing from conversation around air pollution. And the only thing that's been taking rounds is responsibility of the other, blaming everyone rather than
Correct.
actually saying that it's actually everyone. Like, as I keep saying, that we do not know, India doesn't know who the Environment Minister of India is. He's completely missing. We do not know who the Environment Minister of Uttar Pradesh is. Nobody knows the name of that gentleman or gentle lady that it could be, or for that matter, Haryana. The only one that we know of is from Aam Aadmi Party, who is busy just lying and choking entire Delhi by some knee-jerk random policies that he and his government keeps making. So it's collective failure, it's ignorance, and it's shame, and it's criminal governance, and they should all be tried as criminals for killing our children and the elderly and our air long term.
Vimlendu could not agree with you more. It is criminal negligence, and it's also it's not just it's something that is being done willfully. One would say, because solutions, it's not something that hits you. This is coming. November is coming. Yet no proactive measures are taken. It's all reactive, as you said. Preeti, what are the causes for this? We keep hearing every year crop burning, construction, diesel cars. Are these easy to tackle? Explain why we're in this situation.
Okay, I think a lot of us already know, but I think we have this discussion, as we said, every year. Vehicular pollution, of course, is part of it. A large part, I would say, is the geographical factors that we are in. I mean, Delhi is where it is. Having said that, this is not something which we have a control or wish away. It's always been there. So things like crop burning have, of course, added to it. Weather pattern changes have added to it. When I say weather pattern, I mean the weather has been fluctuating. We all have seen extreme rains. In some years, no rain in the time when it should be raining, floods happening where there was no rainfall, and so on and so forth. Lots of factors contribute to it, as I said. A lot of things are within our own control. And that is the unfortunate thing which we are not taking into account. Why is it that we wake up only at this time? What is it we're doing round the year? There are so many things which we can do round the year. Why this odd even, as I said, these are not even band-aid solutions anymore. Really. I mean, they're a joke. It's a mockery. So we all need to sit together. Yes, big measures can have to be taken by the government or people in governance, as Vimlendu has said. But I think one of us also needs to think, is this a city we want to live in? Is this a city where maybe we want to grow up our children in? And maybe a lot of us will move out, but not everybody has that luxury. I always say air is a huge equalizer. So what I'm breathing, a person on the road is breathing the same air. So if nothing, that should be a wake-up call. If the people are sitting, with the policymakers are sitting in their so-called ivory towers, guess what? They also are breathing the same air. Yes, they can afford an air purifier. And I think a lot of people will have already done that. The other thing I'd like to say is, a lot of people I would say the government has started putting these token air purifiers all over the city, and they're spending tons of money on that. Guess what? Trees are natural air purifiers. They don't need filter changes. They don't need maintenance. Why aren't we putting that? Why aren't we adding to that green cover in Delhi and around Delhi? Because air is not, there's no border. Air is fluid. So whether it's somebody choking in Gurgaon or in Punjab or in Delhi, it's all the same air. And people are traveling in and out. So, doing measures like, okay, you're stopping diesel cars and so on and so forth, great. That's all great. But is that a long-term solution? It's not. So we have to think of multiple solutions to tackle.
Okay. Yeah. Vimlendu, you wanted to quickly comment, then I'm going to go to Dr.
So I agree with everything that Preeti said. The only thing that I want to add and not differ in that sense is that air is not the same for everyone. Air is not an equalizer. It's different. The air that Preeti breathes or I breathe and what perhaps a rickshawala is breathing or someone who lives next to a landfill is breathing is very, very different. So US ambassador's air quality and the Prime Minister's air quality in Lutyens is very, very different from a Shadipur depot air quality, and therefore it affects air. Air is different. There is something called poor air and poorer air, and unfortunately for poor people, the air is poorer than the rich. And it's not just in terms of air purifier alone. It's also the locality that you are in, and therefore we will have to really think that it's a question of equity and justice, and not that, oh well, it's the same air at the end of the day.
Okay, point taken. Dr. Himanshu, what is the lungs of NCR? You must be getting a lot of patients. What are the markers? What should one worry about? What is the impact that is having on us?
You see, as November starts, two terms become very familiar to all of us, and our day starts with just checking. The two terms are AQI and PM. So these are the most searched words now. Even XYZ, people, they start discussing. For example, in a hospital, right from guard to the director, we all discuss every day. Our day starts with. So we have been getting a lot of cases. We have been getting, if I tell you, yesterday we had 2-3, since our hospital, a lot of diplomats come. So they have been posted to Delhi few months back, and they had a blackout yesterday with nausea and everything, and they were rushed to emergency, and they were feeling breathless, nausea, eye irritation, and everything. So it was when we checked everything, things were fine. It was not something medical, but they reacted to the Delhi air condition. Yeah, and if we see our OPDs from last 5-6 days, our eye OPD has increased. There are a lot of eye irritations. Then respiratory OPDs, people are having a lot of breathing issues. Then a lot of nausea cases are coming. From kids to elderly, they will come, they'll tell that they are feeling nausea. So all these things, they are reacting to the air quality. I mean, it's very severe. And the problem is that we often use term medical negligence, where it becomes a page with headlines. But I think I agree with all our panelists that it's a political and criminal negligence. When we know, we have been discussing from last so many years, when we know that at this time we'll have this problem, but it's all knee-jerk reaction, odd, even, and everything. These are not a solution. We have to sit, we have to find a way out. Otherwise, a lot of depression cases, your day start with so gloomy, it all affects the day and your thought process, and everything. And the weather changing, and all these, it also affects the behavior of the people. So I see every day this. So it's a war. War footing effort is required from all of us. We all have to contribute, and we have to find a solution. Knee-jerk reaction is just, it's just waste of everybody's health and efforts.
Yeah, it's a band-aid, literally. Bhavin, how bad is the situation, and is it just getting worse every year?
Well, I think everybody said it, and in fact, what Vimlendu said is exactly how we've all seen this, and there's nothing's changed. There is, of course, more. They're talking, you're having these meetings, and there's more, communication on that. But obviously, we are not doing the right things. We, as in the government, is not doing the right things, and that is why we are in this state. So obviously, if you're looking at smoke towers, and you're looking at purifiers, and you're looking at those, some weird gadgets to put over the buses and the cars to. This is not going to help. Even on waste management, you instead of working on the waste management bylaws and implementing them, you're bringing in trommel machines to segregate waste, at the landfills. These are, everything is more about technology and bringing these gadgets rather than actually working on all the sources of pollution. And this is nothing new. It's been said over and over, and even the better experts have said that and written and published everything. Now it's a matter of course, the political will, like Vimlendu said, and also something that I'll just add there to what he said, the proactive and the reactive, mode that they are in usually instead of the proactive, and also something that they're in denial. So throughout the year, they work to tell the citizens something that really isn't. So this year they were working on, just kept saying and giving these media PR articles saying that the air is much better and we've cleaned up 40% air and things like that, until now that climate trends and Respira Living Sciences, and they have to come together and put down this data and show that this is just before this season began, to show that no, we are still the most polluted city of the world. So this denial also takes us away from, as a child, you're always taught, अपनी गलती मानो, सबसे पहले मानोगे तो आप उसको ठीक करोगे, लेकिन अगर आप गलती नहीं मानोगे और आप उसको, you're trying to just, kind of, conceal facts and, go in another direction.
Acceptance first.
Acceptance ही होगी तो how will we correct it? So I think we need to just, they need to sit down and kind of reflect on this year or years and see what all wrong they've done and how, and that is the way forward, rather than just, again, going, it's the same things again and again. I have nothing more to say.
I'm going to take a break and I'm going to come back on a point that Bhaveen has raised. What all wrong have they done? Let's talk about the wrong that they have done. And we know the short-term solutions, sprinkle karo, odd even karo, diesel cars ban karo. What are the long-term solutions that we can come up with and offer? Preeti talked about growing more trees. But more than that, what else can be done is something we're going to be discussing, but after a very short break. So stay with us. Hello and welcome back to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Today we are taking a look at an issue that affects each one of us, the air that we breathe, and why is it so toxic, especially at this time of the year. Remember two things. One is, the word haze pollution. One hears a lot of it. What exactly is it? Is there the smog-like fog that envelopes us? But how does that happen? And, the long-term measures that can be taken.
So of course, haze largely we talk is about visibility, as in your visibility goes down, whether you can see 500 meters to 1,000 meters, and that's the visible pollution that we're talking about. That's not a scientific way to look at air quality, as Bhaveen also mentioned earlier, that actually Delhi is polluted through the year. When we talk about weather, what weather does is, because of our geographical advantage or disadvantage, there are a lot of advantages that we have and also a lot of disadvantages that we have, because of which the pollution gets trapped because of high level of humidity, low wind speed, lowering temperature. All of that actually traps Delhi's pollution in this entire area in that sense. And that creates like the smoke. And so we're talking about all the emissions, plus dust, plus biomass. So it's basically what we're talking about is Delhi produces a concoction of heavy pollutants, or Delhi works really hard through the year to call itself or to make itself a gas chamber. Now, when your question in terms of what is the long-term solution, those long-term solutions are available and has been given to the government for the longest time in that sense, because there's a lot of data that Preeti was talking about and Himanshuji was talking about and Bhaveen were talking about, that it's available, that we know that there's almost a deficiency of 7,000 to 8,000 public transport buses that we have. Imagine something as simple and as basic like this. When we are talking about doing many, many more things, this government or the central government talks about pitting India or positioning India as a multi-trillion economy. Something as simple as getting basic buses for its citizens has been completely missing. And that too, despite Supreme Court's intervention for many years, still we don't have public transport. So one long-term solution is, and by the way, metro is not the only, and we cannot hide behind metro. Indeed, it is important, but last mile connectivity is through buses and through other modes of transport that we talk about. So we need to work on that. The other is that, to catch up on the time lost or the development pathway that India lost or New Delhi lost or the region lost because of COVID, we are doing that catch-up game very, very violently. We want to really build and rebuild and just become whatever that we want to become, Vishnu very, very quickly, because of which the entire city is being dug up. And last 2-3 years, we've only seen grand inaugurations of grand things. Of course, our buildings and our auditoriums are becoming bigger and the lung size of our children are becoming smaller. Now, what is more important? When a doctor tells you, Himanshu will tell you that, children born in Delhi have stunted lung growth. Is that an indicator of a good country, of a very, very powerful nation? Is that a country that we want to imagine where every second child actually has asthma and every child has stunted lung growth? And this is not anybody's agenda or propaganda. This is the scientific community, from Lancet to our ICMR to our doctors, independent doctors and foundations. They've told us that this is a crisis. So therefore, we need to really look at the kind of construction demolition activities that's actually happening in National Capital Region. Roadside dust is another very, very big pollutant. As in, they're looking at and why beautification is something I was having a conversation with someone else in the previous interview that I had. Beautification does not mean palm trees and pine trees and khajur trees. That's not what we're talking about. What the government ends up doing in the name of beautification or planting trees, when you chop, and Bhavrin will tell you more because she's been really fighting this in courts of our country for many, many years. When you chop 5 trees every hour in Delhi, and that 2 trees that are at least average 20 to 25 feet, and do compensatory afforestation by planting, 5-inch, 6-inch trees, majority of them dying. That's the problem. So on paper, it might look that as if you have done more forest cover, but reality is that the trees have been completely missing, chopped by everybody. The Chief Minister of Delhi himself chopped 28 more trees so that he could build 5 more bathrooms in his backyard. That's the unfortunate idea, that Sheesh Mahal that we keep talking about. We do not know how many trees did Bhupendra Yadav, the Union Minister of India, cut to have a fancy gazebo in his backyard also. These are the long-term solutions. Fix the green cover and have a zero tolerance policy. Trees cannot be, compromised just because you want a fancier auditorium. Fix your public transport. It's the easiest, it's low hanging. It is something that people will go for, because it's cheaper, it's nicer, it's better. I live in Gurgaon for the last 1.5 years. I take metro and and go to Malvi Nagar, where my office is, every day, because it's available, it's accessible, and so on and so forth. Similarly, when you look at long-term industries, as why should industrialization, urbanization happen only in Delhi? Why cannot we shift a little when we know that there's finite land and finite air and finite water that Delhi has? Why should the concentration of urbanization and commercial activities happen in the heart of Delhi? Like me and Bhavrin, we were fighting this entire case in Sarojini Nagar, where they chopped thousands and thousands of trees to create parking lot for government servants. Now, these are really insane society. Where are they thinking and what are they thinking?
Well, that's also part of the air that we are breathing in, the cough that Vimlendu has. And in fact, he cracked before the show when he was coughing. What did you say about odd even Vimlendu? That was quite funny.
I was saying that, it's in every household, सबका number लगता है और सबका odd day में किसी को खांसी होती है और even day में आँख जलता है और फिर next week में फिर odd day को बुखार होता है और even day को ICU होता है. मतलब सबका odd even चल रहा है. चालू है.
I will just add, and I've been meeting people who come to hospital. See, the people, they are planning the long-term planning. In what term? One car has to be odd number, one has to be even number. So, this is the planning because they know that nothing will happen in terms of governance or stuff. So we are planning in this way that our life is smooth. So these kind of plannings are going on. So one car should be odd, one should be even. This is
people are just buying more cars instead of taking the metro, as Hindu was suggesting, because there's not enough public transport on the roads. Yeah, Preeti.
Yeah, so I wanted to add something which you're already discussing. This is the capital of the country we are talking about. Now, if in the capital we are choking, I really don't know. Something really is seriously wrong. We've ignored it. It's getting worse every year, as we see. This year comes around and it seems to be like it's a surprise to the policymakers that, oh, guess what? Oh, again, it's polluted. So I don't know what needs to be done, really to wake them up. I think our own thinking of what is development, the so-called development which we call, which means more flyovers, which more underpasses, fancier homes, more construction, from 2 stories to 20 stories. That is not development. If we can't breathe, if we don't have clean water, clean air, I wouldn't call that development. I would think we are going back. So our own concept of development has to change. And we talked about, planting palm trees and, all this tokenism. People come around and they plant trees from 50 countries or 50 areas and regions. Guess what? They'll survive probably just for the 1 week or 2 weeks that they're watered. And that's the end of it. So that also has to be planned. I don't know why we're not thinking about that. And we have to think about it through the year.
Correct.
And it is possible. It's not that the solution is not there. It's there. But I don't know if the willingness is there and if the urgency is there.
Correct.
Political will must. It should be a national program now. It should not be party politics or Haryana is responsible, Punjab is, every year the same story goes and it continues.
And it's unfortunate this
Huh.
conversation happens only once in the year.
Yeah.
And then
That's
the
the
rest
point,
of
yeah.
the year, it's forgotten. It's this 2
Forgotten.
weeks which we all choke. People
But there
get
are people who are fighting during the year. Bhavreen, he spoke about some cases that you have. Can you tell us a bit about those?
Priya, they're mostly everything we roll together in this is Delhi Trees SOS, and we kind of come together. We are citizens. We all have limited resources, limited time, and that's how the whole group, starting from the 7 GPRA, we've just been fighting, and but in these such difficult battles, we get some small wins. So there was a court order from 2013 that long ago we done, and the trees are supposed to have 1 by 1 meter space around them, free space, should not be concretized, and that's still not been implemented. As you see, all the trees are cemented. So that what Vimendu just said, that basically the city is all about concrete, it's all about construction. There is an NGT order which is supposed to, their greening guidelines, that every footpath and every highway and every road has to have a certain amount of space without, it's a huge order. But as you see, there is, that's why you have this, the dust, even the road dust, because these NGT orders are only meant to kind of reduce that. So those are things like, these are such old orders, but they're not, we have the laws, but they're not being implemented. Then, even on all the things we're talking, it's not the citizens you'll tell the city, don't drive a car or own less cars. It's not going to happen. They have to lead. They will have to form a policy. You will have to, recently, when, in London, you've seen with the, in fact, I've been working with that whole team. It's so sad that the mayor of London speaks to us and brings us into a committee and we talk. And we are working on ultra low emission zones. But in my own city, they don't bother. They don't know even the spelling of what is low emission zones, And recently, first time they've asked, and I've given Vimlendu's name, some of us that, yes, bring us and we'll tell you. Why shouldn't the schools be low emission zones? Why shouldn't the hospitals be low emission zones? It is so important because that's what we are trying to show them, the data that outside my house, the AQI is much better than outside the schools because there's so much idling and there's so many buses and traffic.
Yeah.
So, but if you see the last year, there are at least, I think I was counting, most which were there on my phone. I had about 330 flyover and underpass construction projects that I saw. Must be more. I could be wrong on the figures, but this is what I have on my phone. So we have a car-centric approach. We have a tree decimation approach. If we are cutting, these are with permissions. What Vimlendu's mentioned is 5 trees an hour are being cut with permission. So the ones which are illegal, we have no idea what that is, because until you'll file RTIs and that, you will never get responded now for the if you go to school, you'll be there for 3 hours. So everything has become so difficult, and it is the government, because that is where the political will is, and they have to kind of understand this, that I'll say it again, that the technology is not going to save us. It is all the policy that is going to save us. And these kind of institutional changes are difficult. They take long. You have to be patient. But if instead of smog tower, they had started working on that, then probably by now we would have started seeing the difference.
Results. Okay. Yeah. I'm totally out of time, but I just want one quick answer from Dr. Himanshu. Everybody's telling us, don't do morning walks these days. It's more harmful than, any benefits. So when does one take your morning walk? A lot of people are complaining on WhatsApp groups, chat groups that
so it should be avoided. Because it should be avoided because most of the time you should stay indoor with air purifier and everything. You can do a treadmill inside, but outside with this 400 plus AQI, it should be avoided because you can have an instant asthmatic reaction or skin irritation, eye worsening. So morning walk should be avoided as of now, seeing this condition.
Which is so sad because we wait for the winter to sit outside to go out, but
Yeah.
unfortunately we have to stay in because of something that can be easily avoided. The frustration has come out on this conversation, the helplessness, the frustration. I hope politicians will listen to it, will listen to us and try and do something for all of us, for us and our children. Thank you so much.
But we
for
are
this
allowing
conversation.
a world cricket match happening in the same city, and we are ready to risk the international players and our own heroes, sport heroes, their lungs. So again, this is denial. This is denial. We don't want to
Denial, yeah. First thing is to accept and then try and work on a solution. Thank you so much for this conversation.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.